Hello everybody, Cal Ewing here again, and this video is all about analyzing a deal as a fix and flip. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that if you don't have a strong foundation and understanding of the math involved in rehabbing houses, it can be a very, very risky venture. And even sometimes when you get the math right, things can happen with fix and flips that you don't foresee, and also add to that risk, right? So I think the most important foundation that you need to have is an understanding of how to analyze a deal, put in some buffers and precautions in your numbers so that if anything goes wrong, not only are you still going to make a profit, but you're going to be able to account for any unexpected things that could happen. You're going to be incredibly successful and you're never going to lose money. Okay, so I'm going to patch you into a webinar that I did at the end of 2018. And what I did is I went through my emails. I get a lot of emails from wholesalers, and I just picked a property at random that a wholesaler was trying to sell. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to analyze this particular property if you were looking to buy a house as a remodel project or fix and flip. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to plug you into that webinar right now. Enjoy.
You must get the numbers right before buying a house. And what I did here is I pulled a deal that I just got out of my inbox. I'm on about probably 50 different wholesalers mailing lists, and so I get tons of deals sent to me every week. And this is just one I picked from email, so I don't really know much about the house other than what was provided by the wholesaler. But this is a house in Houston, or in a suburb of Houston, and these are the numbers that were provided to everyone in the email. So I didn't really verify everything, but we'll use their numbers. Okay, so 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage home, 1685 square feet. And this is pretty typical. There's a lot of brick homes in Houston. There's no basements down there at all. So every house eventually has foundation problems. I think it's just part of all the moisture and the fact that it's on limestone. It's just, the ground just shifts. So there's no basements. And the wholesaler quoted, about 25 to 30K in repairs. And they said floors, kitchen, and bathroom upgrades, a new AC, paint, and touch-ups. Okay, so they were asking 110 for this house, and they said that the after repair value on the home was 170,000, and they said the rents were 1,400 to 1,450. All right. So I just thought I would include all the photos that they provided just so you can get an idea of what the home looked like. This webinar is not going to talk about analyzing repair costs at all. That's a huge topic that we can do a different time. But I just wanted you guys to get a glimpse of what it looked like on the inside. All right. So it's not in bad shape. I'd say it's, for this area, it's probably close to rent ready as is. And definitely need some updates, probably fix or add new kitchen, a complete new kitchen, bathrooms and things like that. I guess this isn't bathrooms, but the paint needs to go. Flooring has some issues, but overall it's pretty decent. And you can see the bathroom here is pretty dated. That blue's got to go. There's a bunch of repairs that were made on the walls. So looks like there's some cracks. It's hard to see in this photo, but cracks around the windows there. So mainly aesthetic. We didn't actually go see this house, obviously, so there could be more problems, but we'll just say that it's mainly aesthetic. Needs a new roof, probably new eaves. Well, obviously new eaves and fascia board and things like that. And then down here, all this moss and stuff, that's pretty common all over the Houston area. There's just so much moisture, so that's just common on every house, and you just spray that off mainly. All right, so that's what it looked like. I really want to interact with you guys a bit more, so just give me 1 second, okay? Try to figure this chat thing out again. I see. So the chatting goes away. As soon as I share it, it goes away. So, all right. Come on. come on, go away. All right. I'm getting these pop-ups that are blocking me from, okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah, are you guys seeing the big screen again? Okay. So the next thing you need to do is figure out.
Cal,
yep.
we see your Zoom page right now.
Oh, do you?
Log in.
Okay. Sorry, this is a little embarrassing here. What now?
So,
The other one?
yeah, the whole. I see your side slide and your whole
Okay.
program there.
Main screen, screen 2.
If you can make that full screen, your PowerPoint, there you go. You got it.
All right. All right, so yeah, the next step is you need to figure out what's the value of this home, right? What are you going to be able to sell it for? And so this is called a comparative market analysis, or CMA. And best thing to do is just get a realtor on your side, get a real estate agent. They can pull comps for you. And there's other ways to pull comps. Obviously, there's things like Zillow and Trulia, Redfin, a lot of online resources, but frankly, I don't trust it. Sometimes they're bang on and sometimes they're way off, and you just have no way of knowing. And if you're putting tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, I wouldn't risk it. So what I recommend is just find a good realtor that works with investors and make a deal with them that they get the listing when you finish the remodel, and they'll provide you comps for all the houses you're looking at buying. Okay, so these are the things that we ask our real estate agent. I actually pull them now myself, but these are the things we use in our comparable analysis. You're going to want to look at sales in the last 6 months, preferably, but no more than 12 months typically, because as you guys probably know, the market can change quite a bit in a year. Okay, especially right around now, things are changing quite a bit. You're going to want to look in a quarter to a half-mile radius, and obviously we're working in miles here in the States. Any further, I mean, sometimes you got to go farther, especially if you're in a more spread out, more rural area. You may have to go up to 2 to 5 miles. But if you're in an urban area, you shouldn't have to go past half a mile to find good comparable properties, okay? And then you obviously want to find same beds and baths. So in this case, we're looking at 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, and then like type. So you're going to want to have same stories. I find that this is a big one for our area, is that 2-story homes tend to sell for a lower price in most neighborhoods than a 1-story. And I think that has to do with heat. It's harder to keep these 2-story homes cool upstairs. And then obviously like ranches, stick with ranches and that kind of thing. And then obviously size is a big deal. So you want to be within about 20% as far as the square foot of the home, or plus or minus about 200 square feet, bigger or smaller than your subject property. And then years, you want it to be similar in age as well. So I don't like to go beyond 10 years, either older or newer than my subject property when I'm looking at comps. 5 years is even better. And then, of course, extra features. So if it has a pool, well, then you're going to want to look at homes that have pools. If it doesn't have a pool, then you don't want to use a comp that does have a pool, that kind of thing. And then another big one that I found is, especially in the US, is things like school district boundaries. We were down in Kansas buying some homes at the tax auction, and we were looking at a couple different houses, and our realtor was showing us comps, and this one road was the dividing line between 2 different school districts, and the difference in values from one side to the other were, I think, 50 to 100,000 different. And it was just because one side had a really good school district and the other side didn't. And if you don't know that and you're looking at comps on the wrong side of that line, you're going to be very wrong in your analysis. So you want to pull up schools district maps and things like that. All right. So this is an example. This is the actual CMA that I pulled for this property. And I want to just highlight a couple things here that you're going to want to look at. So up here at the top, these are for sale. active listings, and it actually found out this is the actual subject property that we're analyzing. So what this wholesaler did is he must have got it under contract off the MLS, and the seller had it listed for 85. And remember, the wholesaler was asking 110 for this property. Okay, so we know what they're selling it for. But you're going to notice here that there's really 3 different groups typically when you're looking at comps. So you're going to have the investor special or handyman specials, the ones that are in need of some serious remodels, and then you're going to have the what I call the as-is comps. So these are homes that have just been lived in. They might be fairly well taken care of, but they're just dated. They have wear and tear. They've been lived in, and people are selling them. Okay, and then you're going to have another group, and these are typically what I call the ARV comps. So these are homes that have been freshly remodeled by other investors, or the owners did some updating and upgrades before selling the home. Okay, so you can see here there's kind of a little bit of 2 distinctive groups here. All right, and I'm actually going to focus in on I'll just wait on this group here, and I'm going to go to, if this works, I might have to share a different screen. And I'm actually going to pull up these comps, and you can see the properties here. All right, so just bear with me. I'm going to share again.
Al, I've got that screen pulled up on mine, so if anybody wants to chat and ask any questions, I can relay that to you.
That's great. Yeah, if you guys have questions, just type it in, and Clint will let us know. Perfect. Thanks, Clint. Okay, so are you guys seeing my web browser now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Everything fine.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so this right here is the property that we were looking at, or that we're actually analyzing. But I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to show you the 2 after repair value comps. So this one here is sold for the highest price, 171.9. It's a 2-story, I found out, so I'm actually going to skip that one. Just because it's not really a comp. But these 2 here for 155 and 158. So it says here it's been completely remodeled, and it looks quite similar to our subject property. So I'm just going to show you just some pictures of what we're talking about. And this is what you need to do when you're looking in a specific area that maybe you don't really know that well. You want to look at the remodel comps, because you want to see what kind of a remodel is done in that area. You don't want to put in solid gold countertops and expensive everything in an area that, they're just using basic materials, carpet and linoleum and, your basic stuff, right? Because you're not going to get the value out of those extra expenses that you're putting into the home. You're just not going to make that much extra in your sale price. On the other hand, if you do too low of a rehab and it's a fancier area, you're probably not going to sell it for what you're hoping, right? So you really want to see, and you also want to see what's in style. Different areas have different things that are in style, different finishes and that kind of thing. So here's a really good remodel comp. You can see it's very basic. It's not fancy at all. This is kind of, I'd say, more of a blue collar area anyways, but they've got granite and, new kitchen, things like that. So I usually just take a quick peek just to see what I'm dealing with and what I'm up against, okay? And you'll get a few comps that when you go inside, that is like extremely fancy, and you want to be aware of that, this comp, if it's really fancy, you may want to not use that as a comp, okay? So there's that one, and then I'm going to show you the other one here that we're looking at too. Very similar again. And so this one I think was actually lived in, but they just updated it before they sold it. So very similar, but you can get an idea. Okay. All right. So that's that. I'm just going to go back and show you what I call an as-is comp. So you can see it's carpet, it's been lived in, maybe clean, but it's just, older fixtures, dated, right? So that's what I call the as-is comps. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint screen to share. Okay. You got it, Clint? You seen it? PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay.
Everything looks good.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to focus on these 2 here, Hallbeck and Sully. And you can see that they price per square foot is 99, between 99 and 103. So if you take an average, you've got $101 per square feet. So based on that, our square footage is 1685. So we've got an ARV of 170. Okay. So that's what the wholesaler said. So for once, the wholesaler actually gave an accurate ARV. You're not going to see that very often. And then you also want to pay attention to days on market. Okay. So you can see here, there's quite a spread in days on market, but these two homes that we're looking at, they sold really quick. Okay. But this other one, which we didn't really look at, but it was a remodel as well. It took 42 days to sell. Some of these as-is comps are taking a little longer. So you just want to keep that in mind, because you're going to have to figure out how long you're going to hold this property before you sell it. And holding costs get really expensive. Okay, so now repair estimate. I'm not going to get, like I said, too in depth in how do you estimate repairs. Clint actually helped me with this. We have a really cool app that one of the general contractors in Houston developed. And so you just go through the house and type in all the items, and it gives you a pretty accurate cost analysis. And so from that, we got about 35,000 was our repair estimate. And this is without going to the house, right? This is just from photos. But in order to get a repair estimate, especially if you're living north of the border, a couple things you can do. You can work with a general contractor, and I would definitely meet them first, get some referrals and that kind of thing. Tell them that you want to do some deals and do some fix and flips, and you want to use them to help you with the repair estimates. That's one way. Realtors are another way. They sometimes are okay with that if they've done a lot of work with investors, but it's touch and go. Or having a boots on the ground partner like I've got with Clint. All right. So the easiest way when you're going through a whole lot of fix and flip analyses, when you're looking at, say, 10 properties in a day or something like that, is just to use what they call the 70% rule. And the 70% rule, it's a rule of thumb. It doesn't apply to every price range. So it may, a 70% rule for me might be an 80% rule in your market, or a 65% rule. But what it is you take your after repair value and you times it by 70% minus your repair estimate. And what that number is the maximum allowable offer that you can make on a property. Okay. So with this, we had a 170,000 ARV times 0.7 minus 35,000 in repairs gives us 84,000 as our maximum offer. Okay. And if you recall, the seller actually had it listed for 85. So if we would have gone to the seller, we might have got this deal. So what I want to do now is let's test this to make sure that this rule of thumb actually holds. All right. So this is really great when you're, thumbing through a bunch of deals, but you want to actually break it down to make sure your numbers are solid. So one thing you have to consider going into this and knowing you're going to be remodeling homes is what is your financing situation? So are you paying cash? Are you using a hard money lender? We had a hard money lender on a couple of weeks ago, Jason. Are you using private money or a joint venture partner or something like that? What is your cost of your capital? Okay, so in this example, I'm just going to use the hard money lender that we had on the webinar, his numbers that they lend at for fix and flips, and that's 10.5% interest, 2% fees up front, 2 points up front, and then they'll do 12 months. And then it's really important to actually know what all your lender fees are too. So I'm not going to go in depth, but these are all their fees. And they're going to lend up to 75% of ARV, or 90% of purchase price and 90% of repairs. Okay, so you need to know what your options are so you can analyze this correctly. So I'm going to use a loan amount of 107 for this, and that works out to $937 a month. Okay, at 10.5% interest. All right, so next step, we know what our lender fees are going to be, our loan costs are going to be. We want to figure out what our closing costs are. Okay, and this is a spreadsheet I use. It's very simple. You can create your own, but I've got it broken down into lender costs at the top, and then third party or title company costs. So these are just the cost to close. Okay, so we've already talked about all the costs at the very top, but at the bottom here, what I recommend you doing is figuring out what title company you want to work with in your market, get to know them. title companies are not all created equal. Some of them are very hard to get in touch with. They're non-responsive, and some will just do anything for you. So find someone you like to work with, and then get all their costs. Figure out all the costs that it takes to close a deal, and then just have that spreadsheet handy and at the ready, okay? So most of these numbers won't change. One that will is the title insurance. So that is a moving target depending on how much your purchase price is. So you can actually get a chart from your title company and then just look at the value and figure out what your title insurance policy is going to cost and throw it in there. Okay. So with that, our total closing cost to purchase is $5,458 on this house. Okay, so that's your purchase. Well, what about your sale? Because you're going to sell this property too, right? So you got to figure out, well, what are you going to have to pay up front or pay to close and sell the property. So with this, I usually use about 2 to 2.5% is my estimate, but you could go in and do a full analysis again. And then you got to factor in real estate agent commissions if you're going to use a realtor to sell the house. And I recommend if you do get a realtor that you're working with, that you try and get them down since you're going to be doing multiple deals with them. Try to get them to lower their commission on their end, okay? So with this one, we're going to use the full commission amount, and that's $10,000. All right. So we know what it's going to cost to close on the purchase and sale, but what about holding costs, right? So we're going to have to carry this house while we renovate it, and then while it's on the market to sell. And so you need to have a good idea. So first thing is the taxes, and that's really easy to find. Every county has got their own tax website, appraisal or tax website. So you can just type in the address of the property and it'll tell you what the tax assessed value is, which this one was $118,000. And then the tax amount. Okay, so this is the amount you're going to pay per year. So you just divide that by 12. Okay, and we got 282. And then insurance, again, you're going to want to talk to an insurance agent and just get a rough ballpark about what the costs are going to be monthly for the price range that you're buying in. So I just estimated $100 a month. And then make sure you find out, again, if there's any other additional fees. So HOA or condo fees, you're going to want to factor that in as well. Excuse me. And then you've got your utilities. And so I usually just factor in $50 a month for electricity, water, and gas. And don't forget either snow removal or lawn mowing. This is something I kept forgetting. And in Houston, the grass never friggin' stops growing. So we kept getting neighbors complaining, or even city liens on the property, mowing liens. So if you're not in the market, it's sometimes you forget about that, but make sure you're factoring in mowing or snow removal. And then of course your financing, your loan interest, which is what I showed there. Okay, so this works out to $1,544 a month. So it's expensive to carry even a property this cheap, right? So you want to make sure that you factored in and talk to your contractor and ask them how long it's going to take to do this remodel, and try to get that nailed down with the contractor ahead of time. And then again, we want to factor in days on market, right, when we list it. So I would always aim higher. So if you think you can sell it in 2 to 5 days, I'd go at least 30. And that's what this 29 days is. It's the average. So for this, we figure it's going to take 4 months from start to finish. Okay, so the last thing you want to consider is the cash requirements. So if you are using a lender or hard money, you want to make sure, and this is something I didn't really pay a lot of attention to, but you want to make sure you know exactly how much cash you need to close, because there's a lot of sneaky things that go in there, and you might end up at the closing table and not have enough cash to close the deal, okay? So my spreadsheet, and I can send you guys if you want a copy of the spreadsheet, my spreadsheet figures out the cash requirements at closing. So it's not holding costs, but just how much cash you need to bring to the table when you're closing the deal. All right, and so from that we need about $22,500, and then remember we have our 4 months of holding costs that we're going to need to cover. So there's another $6,000 there. So your total cash requirement to do this flip is $29,000. Okay, now this is the fun part. Say you don't have any money or you already got one flip going. This is where I love to bring in a private lender, and they come in with they top up the cash that we need to do the deal, and they take second lien position. And we're able to do deals with really no money down. And the return on investment is pretty much infinite when you do it this way, and you can really scale your business. Obviously a little more risk, but that's what I like to do. So if you are borrowing this cash, you need to factor in the interest payments for your second lender as well. Okay, here's the tricky stuff that gets you. So some hard money lenders, and you need to ask this up front, some hard money lenders want you to pay for the first stage of repairs. I'd say probably most lenders. And then they will credit you back. They'll lend or give you the money for the first draw, okay? Because usually what happens is they hold your repair costs. So in this case, they'd hold that $35,000 and they'd release it to you in stages after they see the property being fully renovated, right? And the reason that they do this is because, sorry, I'm just doing oh, there's a chat notification. Oh, there we go. Okay, Marco, so you use private lender for most of your deals. Yes, I'd say almost all of our deals, we use private lenders in second lien position. And it works really well. They're happy because they're making really great returns, and it's not a big cash amount, which is great, and it works really well. So yeah, so the draws. So they release it in draws, and you're gonna have to have that enough money in your account or whatever to cover that first stage. So whether that's tearing out everything or sheetrock or whatever, you're gonna need to be able to cover and pay your contractors for that first stage, and then your lender will credit you back. Okay, so if you don't have any money, you're gonna get this house and not be able to start. And then draw fees. So every lender has fees that they charge, and they're going to send an inspector out to make sure that you completed the first stage. And then there's going to be wire fees and all that stuff. And then also taxes and insurance. So some lenders are going to make you pay a full year of insurance up front. And if you don't have enough or haven't factored that in, that can be costly as well. Same thing with taxes. You may have to pay a full year of taxes, things like that. So make sure you're talking to your lenders, and you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, so you have enough cash to actually do the deal. Okay, so at this point, we've got all of the information we need to see what our maximum offer is going to be. All right, so we've got our ARV. We're going to be able to sell this home for $170,000. You may choose to actually sell it for less than that if you really want to sell it quickly. We know our repairs are about $35,000, and of course, when you buy, you're going to have a inspection period, so you can really dig in, and you can order an inspection or get your contractor to really dig in and come up with a very accurate quote. But at least for making an offer, this is great. This is good enough. Closing costs for purchase about $5,500, holding costs about $6,000. Sale costs $4,250, and then your realtor commissions as well, $10,000. So you can see how these numbers really pile up. And then if you have a second lender, you're going to have to factor in their interest as well. And then you got to figure out your maximum offer. Okay, so it's a really easy calculation. You're just taking your ARV and you're subtracting all this, plus you also want to subtract your profit. And this is very personal. It has to do with how good you are at remodeling, how confident you are in your skills and your team's skills, your risk tolerance, things like that. Okay, so I know some people, they use a rule that they need to make at least 15% of the ARV in profit. Some guys have it at 20 or 25. I know other guys that they factor in that they need to make 10 grand for every month of renovating that it takes. Okay, so this is very much up to you, but I'm just gonna use 15% just as a basic number just for this exercise. I'd want to have at least 30,000 in this deal. Okay, so after that, this is our max offer, 82.9. Okay, and remember our 70% rule came out at 84,000. So based on that, that's pretty darn good. It's a really good rule of thumb for this price point of properties. So you can go in and just start making offers using the 70% rule and move pretty quickly. And one other thing I just wanted to show you guys to make this really easy. I like to use the fix and flip calculator that Bigger Pockets has. It's just really fast and it's really clean, and it makes some really nice PDFs. So I'm just going to show you guys real quick what that looks like. Okay. Put this down. And I made a report for this one already, so you can just see. So you just, as you're going, you just fill in all the numbers into this calculator, and you can add photos and stuff into it. And then here's all our numbers. So you got the ARV, your profit, and then it takes all that and it calculates what your maximum allowable offer is going to be, which is the same number that we came up with. And then you can actually add in all the detailed repairs if you want. You can add in all the detailed holding costs and closing costs in there as well. And then the cool thing is if you've got a lender or a partner, you can actually shoot them a PDF, and it looks pretty professional. And you can do that all in for free in about 15 minutes. So there's lots of calculators out there. You guys can find one you like to use. I just find it really simple. And if you pay money, you can get that removed. But this is what it looks like. So it looks really professional if you're taking this to your lender or someone like that, right? All right. So I'm just going to go back, and we're just about done this presentation. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit more about return on investment. Because if you're looking at multiple different deals and you are putting your own cash into the deal, you want to look at your ROI if you're comparing multiple properties. Okay, so I'm just using your profit, right? Your expected profit divided by the amount of cash that you're putting in the deal. Okay, so this one we're expecting, if we're going to make our max offer of $82,900, then we're going to make $26,000, and we're going to have $29,000 in the deal. Okay, for putting cash in. And that works to an 89.7% return. But if we're going to do this in 4 months, then that's a third of the year. So we're going to assume that we could do 3 of these in 1 year. So if you annualize it, it works out to a 269% ROI. And of course, if you, oops, yeah, that's just showing that. If you use a private lender, your ROI is pretty much infinite, right? And that's how you can really scale your business. Okay, and then one last thing, if you're a wholesaler like I am, well, then all you need to do now is add your wholesale fee onto that max offer. So say you're willing to make $5,000 on that deal, then you just add or take off another $5,000. So our max offer to wholesale this would be $77,900. If you want to make $10,000 on that deal, then you want to be obviously around $72,900. But it's really easy to figure out your wholesale price at that point. Okay, so and this is infinite ROI as well, but usually you have marketing costs, so it's not really infinite. So I'm just going to compare it to what the wholesaler originally told us, okay? And let's just see. So they were asking $110. So are we going to pay $110 for this as a fix and flip? Hells to the no, right? That is a bad deal. That is a bad remodel deal. It might be an okay rental, but not a fix and flip. Okay. They said the repairs were 25 to 30, and we came up with 35. So that's not bad. They're pretty close. And their ARV was the same as ours, which is very rare. So this wholesaler is pretty decent, except for their asking price. Oh, got a chat here. Hell no, says Yerrick. That's right. Bad deal. Yeah, so you can see that we're way off. But if we would have found this seller, like if we would have reached out to this seller from the get-go, they were asking 85. They'd probably take less. So that's actually not a bad deal for us, right? If we can get the seller down a little bit. So, I mean, you can buy deals from wholesalers. You have to weed through a lot of crappy deals, but you can buy them from wholesalers. But if you're reaching out to the sellers directly, that's where you get the real good deals, obviously. So, all right, I think that, yeah, that is it.